Hi everyone, this is Rashna. I'm here today to make chicken biryani, and it's one of my favorite dishes. And I think hearing the name of biryani, most people do get scared about making this. Yes, it may be a lengthy process. The lengthiness is generally in the preparation of it rather than actually the making of it. So a lot of things that you can prepare. And towards the end, I will also explain to you how you can cut your corners for making still the amazing biryani that you can. So let's get started. What do we need? Let's have a look. So initially there are two to three aspects of making the biryani. One is the rice itself, and the second is the biryani masala. So I have the masalas here, and then I will talk about the chicken as well. That is already pre-marinated. So what do you need for the masalas? You need loads of onions. Now you could use red, you could use white. It's completely up to you. I prefer red. I have grown up in Mumbai, and hence our preference is usually red onions for both for cooking as well as salads. You then have about 2 cans of pureed or chopped tomatoes, just blended everything in. You have about, don't know whether you can see, about 3 inches worth of ginger, again chopped or pureed. You have about a whole pod of fresh garlic, again chopped or pureed. You have about 10 green chillies, and again this is something that you can adjust according to your taste. Now, these are a few of the wet spices or the wet base that we need. The main important bases are that of the different spices that we use. So what are the spices that we're going to use? We're going to use bay leaves. So I've taken about 2 bay leaves, about 2 tablespoons of cloves, 2 tablespoons of black peppercorns, 1.5 tablespoons of fennel seeds, Saunff, 1 tablespoon of normal cardamom, about 5 star anise, about 5 to 6 of black king cardamoms. Again, this you can get in specialty Indian stores or most Indian stores. About 3 tablespoons worth of cumin seeds, and again if you can get the shahi cumin seeds or the big cumin seeds, they're much better, but if you can't, that's absolutely fine. Use your normal jeera. You then have about 6 sticks of cinnamon sticks. We also have, I had pre-done the nutmeg, so about 1/2 inch of nutmeg, and again that is completely made into a fine powder. I also have saffron milk. I don't know if you can see that, it's too much glare. So basically this is saffron milk that I had warmed up the milk, and I put about a whole pinch of saffron in it. So these are your basic things. You also need mint. So this is about half of a bunch of mint, and the other half is half bunch of coriander, and you need that both for cooking as well as for garnishing. So I think we worked around with your base for your making the chicken biryani masala. I think whilst you're layering, you will also need fried onions. Again, that you can either have pre-packaged fried onions from any of the shops, or you can fry your onions and keep them aside whilst you're doing your biryani. The choice is completely yours. A few things, as you've already seen, some of these things you can take shortcuts with, like we're using with the fried onions. But again, I'll talk a little bit later as to what exactly you can take shortcuts with. So the first part that we're going to make is that of the chicken biryani masala. So let me show you the chicken in the first instance. So I have about 1.5 baby chicken that I had marinated with yogurt, salt, garlic, ginger puree, a little bit of oil and lemon juice. Some people also add the mint and the coriander all in it with the spices. So the shortcut method that I was talking about is already pre-making the biryani spices as a dried powder, just like you make a homemade garam masala. And then what you do is just add it to this, so that really makes the whole flavoring to this chicken much more intense. I'm going a bit traditional because I have the luxury of time. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep this aside and start making the biryani. Right, so what do we have here? We have about 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil mixed with ghee. So this is oil and ghee together. And the reason why I mix both of them is because the boiling points or the heat points of both of them are slightly different, and it allows for a more even cooking rather than a slower cooking with just plain ghee. So that is more than enough for now, and we'll top up as we need. So initially what we're going to do is we're going to add in we're actually going to start by putting in our dried spices. So we're going to add in your 2 bay leaves. We're adding in the peppercorns and the cloves. We're adding the fennel seeds. We're adding star anise. Now star anise gives a beautiful aroma that comes through. You're adding the plain cardamoms. We are adding the cinnamon sticks, the black cardamom, and cumin. So we're adding all of that for now and giving it a big mix. And as it starts roasting, you can really smell all the masalas coming through. And you just want to be careful that you don't want to burn them. And as you're getting those flavors, you are then adding onions. I've made biryani for about 4 people, and I have taken about 4 onions, and there are 4 red onions that I've taken and sliced them. So you can adjust that all depending on the number of people that you have. So you can hear the pop of the crackle of all the spices and of the sauteing sounds of the onions. And I think there's a little less oil in this, so I'm just going to put a little bit more in there. And whilst this is being done, we are going to make our rice. Now again, the rice, I've taken about 4 cups. And we're going to get started on the rice pretty soon. So here you are, you can see how the onions are being cooked. And we have this pot full of boiling water. And I'm going to start that on. So now for making the rice, again the rice I want use a good quality basmati rice. I use Wafa rice, or I use Hanuman basmati or Dehraduni rice, and it gives, I pre-soak it generally about 4 to 5 hours just so that each grain then separates. The trick about the biryani is not to overcook your rice as well. So a lot of fine details that get into this. Now to make the rice, as I mentioned that I've already put the boiling water, you are taking about 2.5 times the amount of rice cups that you've used, and that's just for pre-cooking the rice. So for 4 cups, I've taken about 10 cups of water and I've let it to boil. Now in this, we're going to add 1 cinnamon stick, again 2 star anise. We're going to add some cardamoms, a few peppercorns, and a few cloves. So all of that goes in the boiling water. I also have my secret ingredient for the rice, which is called kevla water. It's a kind of a flour you can get in either Sri Lankan shops or you can get in Indian stores as well. If you don't have kevla water, then you can also add rose water. But generally I reserve rose water in making the actual chicken masala, and the kevla water I keep for the basmati rice. The reason for using these flavored and these aromatic solutions are because they give a lovely smell to the biryani. So there we go. Put that through. Now in there also I will put another thing in for the rice, and that's again 1 spoonful of oil and ghee together, and again that will separate everything off. We are then going to add in salt in the boiling water. And then add the rice. So I have this, sorry, the glare is too much. So I have this pre-soaked rice which I left in cold water about 6 hours, as I meant 4 to 6 hours, and you just add all of that in. So the biryanis from each country in India are very different. So South Indian biryanis can be quite dry, and they are just flavored with the dried masalas. The North Indian biryanis are generally more wet. The Lahori biryanis from the areas of Pakistan, which some of my friends make, is again quite wet. So I think each biryani has its own charm. And again, you can make your biryani in any way. You can add anything. So whether you add chicken, lamb, mutton, prawns, egg. So the same base, I also make a veggie paneer biryani. But the only extra ingredient I probably use is yogurt. So the paneer is marinated with yogurt and the spices, just like I did for the chicken. But I add all the plain spices to marinate the paneer as well. So while the onions are being done and the rice has been put, so the rice I'm going to put on a timer, and that's practically for just about 8 minutes. We don't want to overcook that, so once that's done, we should get going for the rice. Now into the pan for the masalas, let me just turn that around. Into the pan for the masalas, I'm adding in ginger. Next goes in garlic. It really doesn't matter the order of it. Enjoy the process of cooking. The more you enjoy it, the tastier the food gets, which is something that I think we all foodies know. We love our food. We try and make different things, but enjoy the process rather than it being a chore for you. I'm going to add in the green chilies. And I'm going to add in the nutmeg powder. So I'm going to let this cook for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then when I think that's all coming together, then I'm going to put in the remainder of the wet spices. So guys, the onions are nearly done, as is the rice. So now what I'm doing with the rice is, if you can see, I've taken it out in a colander, I've drained it out, and I'm going to separate them so that each grain has time to cool down and stop cooking. We really don't want it overcooked. So you can see how the rice is. It's very hot at the moment. So all I'm going to do is tip that and then gently just move them around and spread them through. Okay, so we really just want to spread through the rice so that it's got time to stop cooking and each strand allows itself to be seen and felt. You really don't want to overcook. This literally has taken me about 6 minutes. I was expecting about 8 minutes, but it's actually taken me about 6 minutes, so I stopped it. So keep an eye on things. Now in this, we are now going to add in your chicken. The reason why I prefer dum biryani is because the whole drama that goes in with the Hyderabadi dum biryani, it is cooked as most biryanis are, with a lot of tender love and care, with lots of fresh onions, tomatoes, coriander, mint. But the main thing are the ingredients that they use towards the end while making the dum are sometimes peach, eggs, and then obviously the dum. And the way they make their dum is by having a very tight seal, and when you're eating it after it's been put in the oven or left on the gas for a little while the dum's being made, and then you have to cut through the dough, and that itself is a beautiful experience, and I think definitely it's one of my favorite things to try. So the chicken's getting translucent. At this point I'm going to add in the pureed tomatoes. So I've added in half of the mint, and now I'm adding in half of the coriander. and half of that we still keep so that we use that for garnishing or layering up when we are doing the biryani. Now at this point I'm also going to add in some salt in here. And I'm now going to let it cook. And I think we are nearly done then after this. So I've covered the chicken and you can see that's bubbling away. And the chicken should be done. So I'm now going to leave that open so that we get a little bit of a drier sauce than what you can see at the moment here. Yeah. Want that to dry through, so I'm going to let that cook. And if you can see the rice, I have separated all the rice, and now what we're going to do is we're going to just add a tinge of color, and for that you can get any of the yellow coloring in the market. And here we have yellow coloring with a little bit of water, and we're going to add that to the rice. I'm going to move that aside so you can see this. So sprinkle through, don't need a lot, and some of the other coloring will also come from your natural tomatoes and the biryani gravy. So just sprinkling this through, so probably about less than a pinch of orange color powder. You can take any dye that you can also use in baking, it really doesn't matter. And you just give it a mix. You can see how the rice is dry, separate, and absolutely fragrant. So the whole point of adding kebab water to this is because when you're spreading this through, you can literally, it's absolutely aromatic. Now, whilst the onion gravy with the chicken has completed, it is at that point that I'm going to add the rose water that I'd initially talked about. So kebab water in the rice and rose water in the chicken curry. So I make biryani quite regularly, and invariably I use either lamb, mutton, eggs, prawns. I use prawns and eggs, so a lot of things together. Now if you feel that your biryani paste is not completely cooked, whilst you're making your dum, it will cook within there as well. So you really, if you want to save time, then you can do that, and then you can oven dum it in or dum cook it on the gas or the hob. So once the curry and the rice are made, we are now going to layer the rice and the curry. So at the bottom of a pan we have put again the initial ghee and oil mix. Just layer that through, and then what you're going to do is just add your rice. So your first layer is that of the rice, and spread that through. You're then putting coriander and mint, followed by fried onions, and then your biryani masala. So at this point you can decide whether you want it really dry, then overcook and run down the masala to become a bit more dry. If not, then you can use the masalas as they cook. So you can see I put this much. I like my biryani a bit saucy. And then again, a layer of the rice. Just make sure you check the seasoning of mainly the salt in the rice as well as the biryani masala. And that having done, again, coriander, mint, fried onions. The crunchiness that the fried onions gives is phenomenal. Then we're going to put the biryani paste masala again. So the reason I like baby chicken is because it doesn't take too long to cook. As I mentioned, this is my day job takes most of the time. I'm a doctor, and hence the reason it's usually very quick cookings that I end up doing either over a weekend, about 4 to 5 meals, whilst the kids are at home, so that it feeds them while I'm away. So again, I think that will be my last layer, and then I'm going to show you what I do for dum. Now this is a quick way of making the biryani also, because the chicken is pre-cooked and we are just layering that up. A proper dum would mean that you are allowing for the chicken to cook, and the rice would be absolutely half cooked. So it allows for all of that. So again, the last layer being that of onions, mint, coriander, and the finale, or rather the pre-finale, with saffron milk. So be generous with this. You can impart a beautiful color and smell. And then you're just going to dot at the edges, just ghee, clarified butter, so after putting the ghee, I'm going to cover this, and I have plain dough, and I'm just going to create a dum out of it. So I'm just going to take all this away. So if you see that, okay. So I've got a vent here which I'll be closing and around all the edges. So you're just making tight seal all around. So once that is done, taking a bit of this and putting it on the seal itself. Just make sure it's all intact. Really want a good seal. There. So now you can put this in the oven, or you can leave it for very, so I generally just leave it at about, on my induction hob, at about 5, and I leave that for about 20 minutes. And that allows for everything. Now what you could do, the variants for this at this point, what you could do is add some peach or a plum. You could add raisins, you could add dried nuts. So the variations to the biryani are manifold. So again, you have loads of biryani in each part of India that you go. They have their own versions of biryanis that they make. This is like a best bits of different biryanis that I love, and this ending of it as a dum biryani, which is very classic of Hyderabadi biryani, and that is what we use. So I'll show you when this is done. And as I mentioned, it's a very aromatic and very fragrant rice, curry, the spices, all of them bring lots of joy, both visually as well as to your taste buds. So I'll just open that once this is done and show that to you. So the dum biryani is done, and we are going to now try and open this. So let's see if I can get you seeing that a little bit better. So I'm taking a knife and just cutting it through. And what some people also do is just take the whole of the dough and just cover it all across. And there we are. You can see the steam coming through. Lovely chicken biryani. And it definitely tastes amazing, looks amazing. And if you don't want to do the dum, and if you just want to preheat it, then this is how it's going to look through. So you can see the steaming, the colors of the saffron coming through, and that's just the rice, the colors staying as they are. So then I would just cover this with a foil and put it in a oven and let that bake through. So the difference you can see. So I hope you do make biryani, and if you have a fantastic biryani recipe, please do share with us. I love to learn biryani recipes, and if you've got variants of biryani, please do let me know. I hope you do like it and do try that. Thank you.